Hello everyone, Krydex here. Welcome back to another wonderful pyanodons and coffee episode. I get the coffee, you don't. We can't make coffee in pyanodons yet, I don't think. Coffee. Nope, sorry. But what we can do is make guar beans. Maybe guar, you can make guar coffee, maybe? Anyway, we need more copper. We're so low on copper. Look at this trickle of copper. So I think that's probably kind of the next thing on the list. But the problem is this has to finish first. What science are we low on right now? Because it's telling me that's going to take 40 minutes, and I don't want it to take 40 minutes. So how can I fix this? Our pi science is stuck. Why is pi science stuck? Pi science is stuck on glassware, it seems. And glassware is stuck on rubber stoppers, it seems. And rubber stoppers are stuck on latex, and latex is... Well, is it even stuck? Is this just our max rate? Seems like we might actually be getting our advertised amount for once in life. Now that I look at it, I might not be able to go any faster than this. What's my research rate? Science per minute 4? No, see, I should be getting more than that, right? No, I shouldn't, because this is two packs per pack. It's very confusing, but like each cycle requires 2 packs. So I don't actually need this right now, so I'm gonna jam the copper up first just so we get that a little sooner. But yeah, that's what's going on there. So, okay, what else do we need to do? That's getting built. Oh no, that's getting replaced. That's right. We've got another bitumen seep right here, which is nice. We've got all the tar. By the way, I forget if I talked about this. I plugged in at one point in between episodes because I was curious. Tar can be processed in 2 kind of similar ways. You can do tailings, tar to tailings in a quenching tower, which has the added benefit of saline water, though, because you can mine salt. That's not that big of a deal. And then you do tailings in the fluid separators and you get this coal water slurry, and then you can DDC the coal water slurry to benzene and aromatics. This used to be what you would do with all of your muddy sludge, because muddy sludge was always tailings back in the day. So you used to be able to get aromatics and benzene out of like washing soil, which was crazy. So now you can't do that anymore. I think that's probably a good thing. But when you get real tailings, you can do it this way. And then there's the tall oil separation, where you DDC tar directly into light oil, tall oil, and aromatics. And then you can make benzene and aromatics from tall oil and 2 parts light oil. But you can see how many freaking fluid separators this needs to process the same amount of tar, and how many DDCs. But if you look at the actual outputs, you get about 1/3 more benzene and about 2.5 times more aromatics, and you get 104 tall oil, which actually pays for the power cost if you use that as power. So it requires a lot more buildings and space, but overall you get a lot more output from it for the same amount of tar. Now, you don't get the soot or the saline water, but those aren't really the primary things, or the flue gas for sure. Flue gas, we're getting to the point where that's basically free, because I think soon I'm going to be able to make that from ash, if I can't already. We can also make flue gas from tar if we really want to. Heck, we can even make... I didn't really look at this version. Aromatics straight from tar. I guess if aromatics were the only goal, that would probably be somewhere in between these 2 recipes. Because 350 to 100... What's the ratio of that? 500 over 350 times 100. Yeah, we get 142 aromatics if we just did that recipe. Oh, we can also already do biomass straight to flue gas. And then there's, yeah, and we can do this one now too. Perfect. So we can do ash or biomass to flue gas. So very easy to make at this point now. So I can kind of ignore it. It's kind of like water. We can almost make it anywhere. Not quite, because biomass and ash are still something that we have to input, but... Excuse me. All right, so this is just... I'm just loving looking at this. I'm just very excited about this. So yeah, what do we actually need to do? Maybe start dealing with slaughterhouse stuff. What we could do... This is tricky. I feel like we're gonna need to put all slaughterhouse stuff on a belt. And we load it into a huge warehouse area. And then we have a multi-provider... Ugh. The fact that we cannot measure the spoiledness of items is really, 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 really bothering me right now. Because it would be really nice if we could have our warehouses that are providing things make it so that, you know, it's gonna pull out anything that's within like 20 minutes of spoiling, or maybe 10 minutes of spoiling or something. So that way, if a train comes to pick it up, the train's never going to receive spoilage. I mean, if you even think about multi-providers, like inserters are going to be inserting things that then immediately get spoiled, and it's just gonna be a nightmare. So I'm not even sure exactly how we're gonna deal with this. And it's not ruining my Zen Garden experience before somebody comments that. It's a fun problem to solve. How did I manage to mess this up? I guess I deconstructed the whole intersection, and then the T-junction didn't quite have enough straight sections to fill it back in. But yeah, I'm just trying to think about, like, what's the best way to deal with all this animal stuff. And I'm wondering if we actually want to... Maybe we just want to clean up the... Wow, there's a ton of chitin in here. Alright. I'm getting ideas. So we're definitely gonna bring in a belt, and this is gonna have all the various animal products on it. And we'll sort it out into maybe a couple different pieces, because there are some that spoil and some that don't spoil. And so I'm gonna try to figure out what to do with that. So for fish here, this is all about fish oil, and the guts are mostly just spoiling into jerky, but can guts do anything for me? Whoa. Oh, we can feed guts to digger dinos. Oh wait, I have an easier way to do this. Haha! Used in. Honestly, not really. I guess we can get HCl out of it once we have biotechnology. Now that is actually not a bad recipe. It's a long way away in the tech tree, but being able to just get our HCl straight from guts is kind of huge. But yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how we deal with spoilage with trains in a way that works. Because if we're transporting guts on trains, that means it's possible we end up with jerky on the other end. Like, there's nothing I can do to prevent that. So I'm wondering if instead we just... don't? You know, like, Is that feasible? But we're gonna be processing so many different animals. It feels like we're gonna need to put these things on trains. So I'm almost thinking like, maybe, You know, I'm starting to have a solution. I'm starting to have a brainchild. So what if, because we're gonna have various animal slaughterhouse recipes, right? And they're gonna be providing various ratios of these different pieces. And what if we actually have all those pieces going into a central, you know, inventory area, and we say like anything over 2,000, you know, guts, I pull it out using inserters that are set to decayed first, right? And then that way we're only ever going to have the freshest 2,000 being provided to trains. And then, so we're constantly cycling, and it could be more than 2,000, I'm just picking a number. And so we're constantly cycling out the least fresh stuff, which might be a lot of our production. You know, I might be putting most of my production cycled out. And then once things are cycled out, they're already considered spoiled. And then I ship them to a central location for jerky handling or biocrud handling. And so I kind of just consider everything that is cycled out of that already to be gone. And that way we guarantee a certain level of freshness, as long as we are constantly producing a certain amount, and we can tie production to the need as well. So we could make it so that like we only do certain slaughterhouse recipes if we have a certain need. And that way we're not just constantly doing slaughterhouse recipes that we don't need to be doing. That's certainly an option. I'm still not really sure if I like that option, but it's an option. And things like bones and skin obviously never spoil, so that's nice. But we are going to need to handle jerky and biocrud. And chitin and bones and skin. That's 5 things. Okay, I don't want to deal with all that right now, but I'm glad we kind of, at least, I feel like I have a handle on how we might process it in a way that's not going to ruin everything. So that trains can still request the actual spoilable items and end up delivering those without them being spoiled. Obviously, those things could still end up spoiling on the other end, so I'll still have to handle spoilage at the destination, but at least it's not gonna just like, you know, spoil the moment we get there with the train full of guts or whatever. It'll still at least have like half an hour or an hour or something. So that's the hope anyway. What else can we do? I can't do copper processing. Well, I guess we keep looking at niobium here. We need... So we've got the lamps. So I guess now we need the saline water, which needs salt. So let's get salt into the mix. This one's kind of weird because it's over there and I don't have infrastructure over there yet. Salt mine. How do I craft you? I need a few more mech parts. So I might just do a long belt for this one. Or I guess... let's check on whether we want a fluid train or not. Alright, I'll steal a few mech parts there. That'll be kind of expensive. So what's more dense? A train of salt, a pound of feathers, or a pound of lead? A train of salt or a train of saline water? So salt is straight up 10 units of saline water per salt. And it stacks to 50. And a cargo wagon has 20 slots times 50 is 1,000. Right? Yes. 1,000 salt, which is 10,000 saline water. A fluid wagon can hold 25,000 saline water. And it no longer needs to be processed into saline water. So that is a more efficient form of transport. The question is, are there lots of places where I will want salt and not saline water? And the answer is actually kind of yes. It's mostly in animal stuff, but there's quite a few places. I mean, heck, even in Neobia, we need just regular salt. So then the other question is, how easy is it to get salt back from saline water? Like, I could just transport saline water in and then use an evaporator. And that actually seems really good. It's only a 2-second crafting time to get 23. So we can get more than 10 salt per second from one single building. One evaporator. Which makes me think saline water is the way to do it. So we're not going to transport salt around the base. Wherever we need salt, we'll just bring saline water. Or I could do both if I really wanted it to be easy. Though saline water is denser still, so I'll have less trains if I always use saline water. It just means I'll need an evaporator sometimes. How do I feel about that? I think I'll just... I don't know how many washers I need. 4 is probably enough. I think I'll just go with the solution of just having... whatchamacallit? Just having saline water only in the world. Now, do we have another salt somewhere? There's one over there. And there's some way up there. And there's one down there. Okay. Just trying to figure out where I want to put it. Yeah, we'll just do that one. Okay, so I need the salt mine, I need the washers, and I think that's pretty much it. And then we'll just do a long pipeline. Oh, and I need pump jacks, which I already have 4 of. And we'll need power, which I have power poles. So I think we'll be okay. Oh, dang it, I meant to get that mod. That allows me to pop in a train. A personal train. So does this not auto-load fuel? Like, vehicles auto-load fuel, but trains don't seem to. Interesting. Whee! Yeah, I need to get that mod that kind of automatically hops into a train. Oh! Wait. I just hit enter and it did automatically pick up the train. That's interesting. The quick ride mod automatically grabbed it. That could be bad if you... I'm hoping... I actually don't know. If you were in a train, that's kind of bad, actually. Is that a quick ride mod setting? I hope there's a setting for that, because I don't think most people would want the train to get picked up when you hit enter. Because what if you were riding along on a freight train? Uh-oh. That's actually kind of bad. I'm, Putinator, if you're watching this, I don't know if that's a bug or if I'm missing something, but I would suggest... No input fluid. What? You don't need an input fluid, do you? Is that new? No, there's no input fluid needed. Don't give me that crap. You're scaring me like that. Anyway, yeah, I actually think that might not be a good thing. It might be a bug, it might be intentional, but if it's intentional, I don't understand why it would be, because that's kind of scary. Alright, so these guys could use up to 20 salt, which is about what we'll have any... I guess we'll only have 15 a second. So... move these here like that, and then this will just have a loader. And then these can each handle 5 salt, which is probably just a good time for a loader. Of course, I don't have enough loaders. Okay. And then water-wise, we need 150. And that does 300. So that's good. Alright, we'll bring this up. And then I think what I might do... As far as loading it into stations, I could make a whole new set of stations here. But it feels easier to just pipe it over to this one. Since right now my infrastructure is still kind of struggling, I think I'll just do a longer pipe for the saline water. Oh, that's new. I get it now. This just straight up needs fluid fuel. Well, butter my biscuit. I did not expect that. Consumes 20 megawatts too. That's no joke. I did not expect that at all. What a surprise. What do I do about that? Do I open up a new bitumen seep just to make, like, let's see. I forget. Was there an easy crude oil to, like, kerosene recipe or something? No. I wonder if that's a turd, because it's not showing up, but... You can crack it into a bunch of things, but then you have to crack those things into things. Oh, goodness. Whoa. High distillates get you naphtha, but you need gasoline for that. Medium distillates get you stripped or high distillates, depending on what you mix it with. Low distillates get you BTX, coal gas, grease, heavy oil. Heavy oil gets you kerosene. Wow, there's so many things here. And what makes you gasoline again? Anthracene or light oil. Or the condensed distillates. And the condensed distillates is high distillates. Okay, so you actually get gasoline from this. How much gasoline? You get 200 to 50, and then you get 50 to 12. So it's actually not enough. So that doesn't loop back. So probably the main source of gasoline then becomes either anthracene. Okay, so high distillates cracking gets you quite a bit of anthracene. So 125, so 5 to 3, and then 3 to... What is that? It's 5 to 2, which is kind of like 3 to... It's kind of like 6 to 3, which is kind of like 3 to 1.5. So it's kind of like 5 to 1.5. So 5 high distillates is about maybe 40 anthracene or something. Anyway, you also get light oil, which is gasoline as well. Okay. So yeah, the high distillates kind of can go to a lot of gasoline. gosh, there's so many ways to combine these various things. It's crazy. And then we're not even getting into the condensates, which give you BTX and natural gas. Natural gas doesn't do much. Oh, just kidding. You can go back to condensates. But we already got condensates from natural gas. So I guess that's a way to keep cycling the refined natural gas into condensates, condensates into this. You get BTX out on each. You get BTX and tailings out on each cycle. And then, I mean, you lose a third of it. But on each cycle, you're also getting naphtha out. So you're getting naphtha out, you're getting BTX out, and you're getting the other thing, tailings out. BTX can be turned into quite a few things when mixed with Nexilate. Or by itself, it's a decent fuel. And then what about naphtha, just straight up? What can naphtha be turned into? Not tall oil, that's what it is, but that's later. That's probably, no, that's green science. Okay, so naphtha goes to tall oil, or hydrogen. Okay, or you can do diesel mixed with aromatics. Okay, and then finally, the last thing I wanted to look at was this one, residual mixture. What's that do for you? Residual mixture is only used for coke related stuff. Coking gas oil. So it gets you a ton of coke. Or you can just straight up get coke out of residual mixture at a 5-to-1 ratio, which is not bad. Which also gets you coking gas oil, which is worth more coke. Holy crap. So 200 residual mixture. I'm kind of getting confused now. There's a weird loop here. Because residual mixture gets you coking gas oil. But it also gets you coking gas oil this way. But this gets you residual oil, which can be turned back into residual mixture. Oh no, what is going on here? That's so confusing. Okay, so let's just say, and once you've turned it into coking gas oil, that can only be turned into coke at a, that's not even 5-to-1. What is that? 2, 3, 3.5 to 1, roughly. 3, I guess it's closer to like 4-to-1. So that is like another 6 coke. So then that's like 46 coke from 200. But then the residual oil can then be turned back into half of the amount of residual mixture, which starts you all back over again. So that is another 25 residual oil, basically, or residual mixture. So then this is like 175 residual mixture makes about 46 coke. Okay, so 175 makes 46 coke. That's about 3.8-to-1 ratio. Or, I hope you guys enjoy this random, completely tangential planning that has nothing to do with what we actually need to do right now. Or residual mixture can go with 10 coke to 100 coking gas, and then 100 coking gas. Now, okay, so 100 goes to whatever, it's 2/3 of 40. So we'd get 26 coke out minus 10 because we used 10 to make the oil. So I think this is worse. It's weird because they're both at the same tech tier though. So this just feels straight up better. Is there a reason you wouldn't do this? Can't really see the reason you wouldn't do this. Because then that other recipe would only get you... I mean, we just plugged it in. 16 coke per 100. So it'd be 100 over that. That's a 6-to-1 ratio. That's like half the amount of coke compared to the other way. So the other way is far superior. I guess it's just that it needs more steps, but like, it didn't even seem that much slower. Anyway, I am bummed out that we need fluid fuel over here. I guess I needed to distract myself with some other things. And really, it was on topic. The original thought was like, could I get crude oil turned into some fluid fuel pretty easily or something to power the salt mine? And the answer is like, not really. the answer is not really. There is a raw coal patch down there. I could just... Do I have an easy way to turn raw coal into fluid fuel? Coke oven gas. 10 raw coal gets me 20 megajoules. And I only need 2 high pressure furnaces for it. Honestly, this might be the path. Now the coke is kind of annoying because I'm gonna end up with tons of extra coke that I'm just gonna be wasting it. And what's funny is there's not an easy way to trash coke. Like, which sounds so weird to say, but like, I guess you have to turn it into graphite and then burn the graphite? Or you have to turn it into CO2, but that's a pretty slow recipe. I guess this is the way to trash coke, the DDC version. Yeah. Honestly, I'm just lazy enough that I think this is how I'm gonna do it. Because what I don't want to do is bring that pipeline of fluid fuel, this pipeline right here. I don't want to bring that all the way down here. I just don't. I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. Okay, I'm going to let you repair this because you're going to be annoying about it. Alright, and then we're just going to bring over a belt of raw coal. We're going to turn it into coal gas, and the rest is going to be history. I do need more belts. I actually need quite a few things, so let's go restock. What happened to my music, by the way? Oh, it just wasn't playing. Weird. It was playing before. I must have accidentally paused it. Ooh, what's that we've run out of? Glass? Wonderful. Love to hear it. Alright, so I need... What do I need? I need... probably all sorts of things. So we'll just pick up a little bit of everything while we sip some coffee on this fine spring morning. Grab some loaders. Grab some undies. Bunch of belts. And I will have to cleanse my inventory. Quite a bit here. I've got a lot of stone I don't need, some wood. Let me go exchange those canisters. And I think that's good for now. Yeah, let's go exchange our canisters. so that we have enough power. I don't know where these are at fuel-wise. I guess they're okay. But yeah, I can do this now, and now that the equipment fuel manager is on, it should automatically pull from that. But I don't want the inventory taken up, so we'll just do that. And then that's good to go. I need some more stone brick, actually. And then I need to craft a few more of the assemblers. It's looking pretty good. There's trees there. Alright, so we'll get the salt mine running. I'm still a little... like... It's so hard when you're setting up a train base because it feels like it's a catch-22 everywhere you look. Because what I want to do is have the train set up all ready to be carrying fluid fuel around, right? But the trains can't carry fluid fuel until I hook up fluid fuel to trains. And so, well, maybe that's what I do. Maybe that's what I do. Maybe I hook up the fluid fuel. Though, then we have that weird issue where we've got different types of fluid fuels. Oh yeah, my idea for that was using not Cybersyn. That's right. It was actually just using the vanilla train system to just constantly deliver to all of those places. Interesting. Is that how I want to do that? We fill up the trains at a source, and there's destinations where they unload their fluid fuels, and then I just don't care what the fluid fuel is. And as long as I have a double buffer on the output of the fluid fuel, it should be fine if they're different things. Sometimes the output train will be less than half full. So we could have weird little blips where a train's only carrying like 500 fluid fuel and then things stop for a little while. That's the downside to that. I would need maybe some sort of automatic trashing system where if the train that's about to be filled up, if there's only 500 to fill it, it would actually dump the 500 to input the new thing that's waiting to be pushed in, so that it would actually be able to fill up the output train. Otherwise, we could get like, oh, 500 acetylene was left before we switched over to gasoline, and then that fluid wagon has 500 acetylene that it then dumps into a buffer here. And then, but there's gasoline in front of that, so once we used up all the gasoline, then then the acetylene gets pulled over, but now I only have 500 acetylene to run off of before the next delivery comes. So that's that we'd have to prevent that, but I don't actually see any other downsides to the system. And it's kind of a cool system. So there's a part of me that's like, should we set that up right now? Should we just go for it? Kind of weird because it's not Cybersyn. But I kind of want to try it. The best part is if it doesn't really work out, I can always just use Cybersyn moving forward from there. But I'm thinking the train interrupt station should work fine. And we'll just say fuel load station. I should say fuel. No, I won't use P and R for provided request because it's not Cybersyn related. And because it's not Cybersyn related, I wouldn't want to screw that up. So then we're not going to need this, I guess. That's kind of nice. Probably means we won't get it done in this episode, though. Salt. We hardly knew ye. We'll see you someday. Okay, so over here, we want to set up some sort of fancy pumping system with tanks. Oh god. Okay, so those are 27K, which is just about one fluid wagon worth. How do I do this? Because we're gonna want pumps onto the train. We're gonna need some sort... What size do I want? That's the thing that I'm trying to figure out right now. I feel like maybe I'll do 2 of the 65 KLs. Get a few kill liters of that. And then at least just for now, I will bring over this pipeline. Because this pipeline should be filled with whatever the fluid fuel of the month is. Flavor of the month. We'll get this guy. I guess we have a blueprint for this. It's about one of the only things I've actually blueprinted consistently. Nothing else has felt worth blueprinting. Oh, those all got built. Nice. Okay, so then what we need is kind of a system where this will use latches. We will have to make clever use of latching. So, because we've got... Basically, I want a double buffered system. It'll fill this up. And then when this drops below... Oh, this is so tricky. Because if it's filling up, we don't want it to be dumping anything. But when it's been filled up, and then it's starting to empty out, and it keeps emptying out, then on the way down, we do want it to trigger... If it has maybe, I'll say like less than 10,000, then we'll want to dump the rest to allow the next fluid fuel in. And then if I'm really efficient, I won't delete the rest. I'll put the rest into holding tanks that then cycle back into here whenever they're the same as what's coming in from there. If that made any sense. So like, you know, acetylene here will be pumping in, but then we'll also have storage for various types of fluid. We can even filter pumps in, so that can be like acetylene. This can be gasoline. I think those are the only 2 I'm using right now, right? But we could do something like that, and then all of these will get... Can these just be connected? Will that break? That might break it. I might need to pump out. All of these will be connected like this. And so those are always trying to go back into here. But then am I gonna get into an infinite loop? Oh god. Maybe I don't like this solution. Maybe I don't like this solution anymore. I feel like if you can solve it on this end though, it's good to go. So it's worth banging my head against the wall a little bit. This is just the recycling piece, so I'm gonna be less worried about this for a minute. I do think this part's possible, but it's like, this one is like, oh, we kind of want these to pump to add into here, but not to set the tone for what's in here. Because if this was like acetylene, We dropped down to 9,000 acetylene left. This was maybe not filled with anything yet, but that's never gonna happen. But let's say it wasn't. What we don't want is like, oh, we start dumping the acetylene, but then it immediately loops back up into here, which then means now it's flowing into there, and then we just get in an infinite loop of acetylene. That's what we wouldn't want. But if this was already acetylene, it would have been dumping into there in the first place. So this probably... It's unlikely that would happen, but it is technically possible. That we drain out all the acetylene. Somehow acetylene and gasoline have both run out, and now this one's empty. So we kind of only want these pumps to run if the type matches and there's a certain amount in there. So like this acetylene pump would only run... Yeah. Okay, I think we cracked the code. So these guys, I'm gonna use red wire. So like this one's only gonna run if... I need decider combinators. So how do we do this? So if... If anything is greater than 5,000, then we output the same signal and that should be a way to tell these pumps which thing to pump out. So if acetylene's greater than 0, then that means acetylene in here is greater than 5,000, and then it's willing to add it in. Okay. Now, just to be double confident, I feel like we want 2 pumps here, which in the old version of Factorio, this would have made it slower, but this is faster in the new version. And that way, this is always emptying out faster than these could fill it up. Okay, we're getting there, I love this stuff, this is fun. So then, is it necessary? Probably not, but it is fun. I'm sure that I will get comments about a simpler way I could have done it. But now we're gonna measure. So now we need the dumping system. So the dumping system is set up to run. We need some sort of latch that's like anything is less than 10,000 and we've got the dumping signal. Or well, when do we trigger? How do we know when we've fully dumped? Oh no. I might need a second combinator for this, because what we want is to measure so in the middle of emptying it out, once it's emptied, we want to stop emptying it out as it fills back up, and we don't want to start unless it's gotten back above 10,000 and then it drops below 10,000 again. So I do think we need a second combinator, right? Because if we say But I feel like that we should be able to do this with one RS latch. That's why I'm confused. So if we output... So if I say less than 10,000, it outputs the dumping signal as soon as something drops below 10K. That's bad, because then it'll just keep dumping things even as it fills back up. So it's like when something's below 10K and we have a dumping signal, then we keep dumping. And then when it hits 0, we stop the dumping signal. But when would it start outputting the dumping signal in the first place? And this way it'll never stop. I've confused myself now. How would we... First I need to remind myself how we do a normal RS latch. Like, iron ore is, you know, it triggers at 5,000. And we have some sort of looping checkmark signal. Or iron ore is greater than 500. Okay, is that right? So, no, I think I switched that. So if that's 500 and that's 5,000, then when iron ore is greater than 5,000, it will trigger, and of course you loop it back on itself, of course. So when it's greater than 5,000, it'll trigger the green signal and then the checkmark signal, and then the checkmark signal gets looped back into itself. So now it sees the checkmark signal and it's greater than 500, and that will keep running until it drops below 500, and then it will wait again until iron ore is greater than 5,000. So the reason this system doesn't work is because if you think about fill amounts, you know, imagine this is a fill bar. Like, it waits until you're a certain amount full, it triggers until it empties down to a certain amount, and then it waits until it's a certain amount full again, triggers, drops it down. That's not the behavior we want here. The behavior we want here is we wait until it's past a certain amount full, and then we keep waiting until it's emptied back down to there naturally. Then we trigger a dump, and then we're done. Once it's dumped, we turn off again until it's filled past that amount. So it is a different logic. So that's why I'm getting a little stuck. It's because I haven't done this logic yet. If it can be done in one combinator, it probably can be done in one combinator. Because I could have a second. I could have a double reset signal. I could have F for it got filled back up. No, I don't think that'll work, actually. Because it all has to be true for any of the... It's not like you can do separate conditions here. So yeah, I think I need another combinator that, like, sets the dumpage signal. So, like, the dumpage signal, we're reading if anything is greater than 11,000. And I guess this could break things if we fill exactly 10.5 thousand in. So I guess we should have it right at 10,000. So if anything's greater than 10,000, it will then set the yes, we can dump red signal. And then this one will require the dump signal and something less than 10,000 to output, and it will keep outputting the dump signal because this one will stop outputting the dump signal. So this one will need to cycle the dump signal back into itself. And it will output the actual empty signal, which will use this down arrow. And that will go to the pumps to tell them to run. Then we need some way to stop this, because this is going to go forever. So we need some other and. If anything is less than 10K. No. That's not even how we want it, though. Because the red signal is going to be less than 10,000. Shoot. Well, I could just output 10,000. I know that's funny, but it works. I can just use 10,000 for my red signal, and it won't interfere with anything. I know that's funky, but it should work. So then it won't corrupt this being less than 10,000. So if anything's less than 10,000, and we have that, then it will loop the dump signal, which is the red signal. This one's gonna... this one's gonna stop outputting the red, though. We want the red, as soon as the red gets here, we want it to be looping. Shoot. So does this one need to also be a latch? So this one will start looping the red signal, but then the red signal will never, ever, ever stop. Greater than 0. And our fluid is less than 10,000. No, this is tricky. This is not right. Because we need this one to loop the signal until we empty out all the fluids. But how can it measure that? How does it even know when it's empty? I mean, we literally need everything to equal 0 from the thing to send the, like, all clear signal. So there's some sort of all clear signal here. Of course, I'm out of materials to craft decider combinators. Is it circuits? No, it's not circuits. It's copper? No, it's not copper. Why can't I craft batteries? I need more batteries. So I need to be measuring just straight up everything. It is true when there are no inputs. It is false when there are no inputs. Everything equals 0 would be false if there are any inputs. It's false when there are any inputs. Okay, that's what we want. So this is the all clear signal. It's empty. Use 0 for that. So when it's 0, everything needs to reset. So this starts a red loop. It needs to be less than or equal to. And then the red will sustain that. But this one isn't hooked up to itself. So as soon as anything's greater than 10,000, this will start the red loop forever, and it won't need any help doing that. And the red loop will never stop. So I might as well just do that. So then the red loop is done. This one doesn't need to maintain the red loop then. And this one is just saying, once we have something less than 10,000 and the red loop is on, then we output the dumpage signal. Okay, I actually think this is fine then. That can be the looper that only starts looping when something's above 10,000. And then this is gonna wait till the looper started and something's below 10,000 to actually send a dump signal. And then the dump signal will go to these pumps, and they're just going to be enabled if dump down arrow is greater than 0. So that's easy enough. And both of these are going to require, well, now we need to do the annoying thing where we can't actually nest parentheses. Everything is going to require the empty signal to be off. So we need it to be 0. So as soon as the empty signal hits 0, then both of these will stop outputting anything. And then these will stop because this was 0. And then nothing will start up again until the empty signal is non-zero and something is greater than 10,000. Then it will start looping the red, and then the red will be looping with this, and then this one will eventually see red plus that, plus it's non-empty. Okay, so I think that actually works out properly, and then we send the empty signal there. Does the empty signal need to be 10,000? Is this gonna mess it up with the empty signal being 1? It might be. I'll just make it 10,000 to make sure. I don't have the brain power to figure out if that would screw things up or not, but we might as well make it 10,000 because we can. Okay, so that should make it so that this flushes everything after it's risen above 10,000 and then dropped below 10,000. I think. It's certainly possible this isn't gonna work right. The worst part is if I do this wrong, it could result in voiding a lot of fluid fuels, but that's fine. I mean, they're infinite. It's fine. It's fine. All right, and then those will get pumped into these things, which will drain into these tanks. And then those will only run if anything is greater than 5,000. Then it will output that specific signal. So if acetylene is greater than 5,000 in here, it'll say, hey, let's bring in some of that recycled acetylene that we had. And that will work. And then this one's just always trying to push into this one, always. So if the fluids match, this one will just stay topped up. As soon as the fluids stop matching, like this gets gasoline in it because it emptied out all the acetylene, and now this is a gasoline-filled tank. Then the acetylene will start dropping, start dropping, start dropping. Eventually it'll trigger a flush. The acetylene will flush out into here, and it'll just wait there. And now gasoline will flow in. And then this is gasoline, this is gasoline. Eventually this will switch back to acetylene, and as soon as it does, and it has 5,000 of it, this acetylene will join the flow. So we should be able to recycle. Because when it switches back... Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to say greater than 1,000, so it starts a little sooner. But we should be able to get 10,000 in. Because this pump is the same speed as this pump. And this has a contents of 65,000. Or what? No, what is it? The names are wrong. No, it is 65,000. Okay, they fixed the names. So it should be able to fit 10,000 into there. So I think this recycle system works. I know it's kind of wonky, but I want to say it works. And then finally, this is just filling up the trains. Oh, wait a second. I just kind of realized, are we gonna have... Crap. We're gonna have buffering issues. So, it was interesting. We were talking about this in Discord the other day. So pumps, and I'm gonna have to be done with this episode soon because I have to go somewhere today. But pumps have a buffer where even once the input has emptied out, they still are holding 400 units in their output. Shoot. That's going to be problematic. Oh man, no, we considered everything. So we thought. So here's where I think this is going to screw us up. Like, let's say this is gasoline. You know, a train comes, we fill the wagon with gasoline, it leaves, everything's great. Another one comes, fill it with gasoline, it leaves. Now we've only got, let's say, 12,000 gasoline. No, that's not a good example. Because then it will actually empty out. Let's say we have 27,000 gasoline in here. The train will come, the wagon will fill up to 25,000, which will trigger the dumpage. Oh, I also just realized we're going to trigger the dumpage while the train is here, which is bad. So we would want to prevent that. But let's say we fix that, so it's not going to try to dump until it's over. Well, these are all going to be stuck with gasoline in them. They're all going to have a little bit of gasoline, right? They're all going to have some gasoline, and they're going to have 400 gasoline each. But then this is going to get emptied out and be filled with acetylene to be ready for the next wagon. But the problem is these have gasoline. Even though there's acetylene behind them, there's gasoline in front of them. No! And because of that, they're not going to push acetylene into the next wagon. They're going to fill the next wagon with 1,200 gasoline. And that's it. Which kind of nullifies this whole entire thing. Shoot. How do we fix that? I don't know if we can. I mean, there's no way. There's just no way. So the only way that just came to my brain to fix it that I can think of would be... Why is this not built yet, by the way? Oh, that's why it's not built yet. I figured it out. The only way to fix this that I could think of would be to set up filters. And then we have the ones that are filtered on that thing only run if this one has a bunch in it. So like this one would only run if the main storage had 10,000 acetylene, and this one, or at least 2,000 acetylene or something. And this one would only run if it had 2,000 gasoline, and it'd be filtered on gasoline, and like that sort of style. And That's the only thing I can think of that would work. But then we would have a pump for each type, which I guess we kind of already had down here. But this is infinitely expandable, whereas this is not. We only have so many we can fit around a train. But at least that way... Now, if a pump is disabled and it has a buffer, it doesn't dump it out, right? We need to check. I feel like this is right, but let's just double check. So if the pump is there, it's got its buffer, but then it doesn't have power. Oh no, it still dumps. It dumps its crap, whether you like it or not. Okay. So that wouldn't even work then. Because even though these would be turned off, they'd still dump their fluid into the train. They might not though, because I don't know if trains are different because they have to like connect their little thingy, and maybe that would be disabled because they don't have, because they're disabled via circuit. That one might be slightly different, but I wouldn't want to risk it. So then the last idea is just like, is it okay if sometimes trains deliver less fluid fuel and I have little blips in service? I certainly don't like the idea. Certainly don't like the idea. Wow, I think I'm at an impasse. I don't think I can solve this system. I could use 12 pumps to get 12 times 400 buffered. So the buffer amount would be much larger. But I feel like we'll still run into issues with that. Shoot. Man. Maybe... Hold on. I just thought of one more thing. And then we'll probably have to be done with the episode. Match the first fluid. What? It'll match the first fluid that passes all weight conditions? I don't know what it means by weight conditions. But what I'm wondering is if we can just say, hey, if we have a fluid less than 2000, we do something else. We go to fluid dump station. That's what I'm thinking. The problem is I don't know if that is gonna do, I don't know how these wildcard signals work yet, but I think we're onto something. Rather than handling it on the pump end, we'll handle it on the train end, which does slightly increase traffic, but I can make the dump station nearby and it can just recycle back into the same station. So I think we can make this work. And then that actually makes me think, what am I looking for? I'm looking for a fluid wagon. That actually makes me think we can just ignore this whole craziness. We can ignore all of this. I'm not going to deconstruct it quite yet because I worked hard on it and that's scary, but I actually think we can just do it this way now. I can have acetylene. It'll be pumping in acetylene. It'll be running out of acetylene. Eventually it will run out of acetylene completely. Given the way I'm doing it now, it will probably run out of acetylene while it's filling up a train, and then those pumps will all empty out. So then at that point, yeah, this is a solution that I think just #works. Fuel load station. Low amount. Yeah, that's fine. So let's see if I put some fuel in you. and I tell you to go to fuel load station. Wait. Inactivity. 2 seconds. Fluid count equals. Can I not do any fluid? Because isn't it like cargo count? Oh, I guess we just do full cargo. Or "15 seconds of inactivity." And then we'll go to a station we haven't named yet, which is going to be fuel unload station. And then we'll have an interrupt for a low amount and an interrupt for refueling. I think this might work. Let's try and name this station. Well, yeah, we can paste all the Cybersyn stuff. So we're gonna name you fuel unload station. You're gonna be scheduled to go to fuel unload station. You're going to empty cargo and inactivity. Okay. So that should work. And then those are filling up. Okay, so what if we got some water here? And then delete that, throw that there. So now it's got some water in it. There's inactivity, but it has, let's see if it triggers the interrupt. That's what we're trying to figure out. Hey, it works. Huzzah. Okay, well that's the situation then. I'm glad we solved it. We'll have to call that the end of the episode. But we can ditch all this nonsense. And we will be able to just pump stuff in. And it'll be really nice. No, gimme. I want that pie tank. Stop it. Anyway, this should work just fine now that we've kind of figured that out. So basically, if a train gets filled with a really small amount, it'll just go, you know, it basically won't go anywhere. It won't go to where it needs to deliver, and it'll just recycle stuff back into the system. So I will still need the recycled stuff. So that part, I guess I actually shouldn't have deleted. So I will still need this system to pump specific types back in. Whenever we have small amounts, they'll just get dumped into here. Okay, sweet. I think that's gonna work, and these don't need to be filtered. So that should work great. Cool. All right, well, we're gonna call that an episode. As always, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next episode.